Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to JCal's View. I am your host, JCal. This is a presentation of Alliance-Wrestling.com, your number one source for news and information for the National Wrestling Alliance. This is the journey of a journalist. This is where I pontificate about professional wrestling. I've been around the world covering the National Wrestling Alliance, and I can legitimately say that. I was there when Nick Aldis defended the 10 pounds of gold against Colt Boom Boom Cabana at Wenzhou, China. I was in Yuma, Arizona when Scrap Iron Adam Pearce defended that NWA World's Heavyweight Championship against Sean Waltman. I was there in North Carolina when our World's Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis defended against Marty Scurll. I was at Nashville, Tennessee to see the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion Cody Rhodes lose the title to Nick Aldis. I was there when Tim Storm brought the 10 pounds of gold at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. I was there when Blue Demon Jr. defended that title against Scott Lost at the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase. So I'm a bit of an authority on the National Wrestling Alliance, and well, it's an exciting week. It's an exciting week because the NWA is returning to pay-per-view. The NWA, along with United Wrestling Network, will be doing their primetime live actually 1 week from today, 7 days from now. And what's really inspiring about this is the first time that the World's Heavyweight Championship has been in Long Beach since 1952. We're going to get more on that in a bit. But it's some exciting times for the National Wrestling Alliance, and I'm glad you were here to go on this journey with me.
So let's talk about the NWA. Let's talk about historically the National Wrestling Alliance in my home state, Southern California. Now, a lot of you guys remember David Marquez promoting NWA Hollywood and the NWA Pro Wrestling Showcase. And it was affiliations with the National Wrestling Alliance, of course. And we saw a myriad of NWA champions come through this territory. I mean, of course, we had Scrap Iron Adam Pearce, Colt Boom Boom Cabana, the Blue Demon Jr. We saw those champions defend those titles in Hollywood, California. We saw the tag team champions, be it Los Luchas or the Real American Heroes or the Skull Crushers. We saw the national champion, Phil Shatter. We saw the North American champion, Apollo, or later Mike DiBiase. We saw those NWA champions here in California. But we're going to specifically focus on the 10 pounds of gold. You know, a lot of people don't understand the connection that the Southern California market had to the National Wrestling Alliance. And I don't blame you, because a lot of you guys haven't even saw the 10 pounds of gold series that is coming back tonight in 45 minutes. But the NWA and Southern California have always had a strong relationship. Well, not always, but had a very strong relationship dating back to 1933. Yes, I know that predates the NWA, but as a wrestling territory, Southern California was often going back in the 30s. That predates the television era. You had territories in, of course, Los Angeles and Hollywood. But you also had San Bernardino, San Diego, Santa Monica, Santa Barbara, and of course, who could forget Long Beach? In fact, the first wrestling event on record was in 1933, January 3rd. It was headlined by Nick Lutz defeating Hal Rumberg. It ended in referee stoppage, and in the final of the 3 falls, it was a 2 out of 3 falls match. The Los Angeles version of the World's Heavyweight Championship was first defended in Long Beach on August 19th, 1933. Now that title would later be unified when Michelle Leone, the Baron Michelle Leone, would lose to Lou Thesz. The NWA was formed on July 18th, 1948, some 72 years ago. And it would be roughly about 3 years, July 5th, 1951, when Lou Thesz would bring the 10-pound... Well, let me correct myself. It wasn't the 10 pounds of gold. The NWA World's Heavyweight Championship to Long Beach, California at the Municipal Auditorium. He would defeat Wee Willie Davis 2-0 in a 2-3 falls match. Now you have to remember, the NWA back then, all world title matches were 2 out of 3 falls. That was the gimmick that went with the 10 pound with the NWA World Championship. And of course, that title would return to Long Beach in 1952 on July 24th, when Lou Thesz would defeat Carl Davis. And then the very last time, I keep saying 10 pounds of gold. They are not interchangeable. The NWA World's Heavyweight Championship would be defended for a final time in Long Beach, California on August 30th, 1952. After 1957, the WWA territory, which was basically the Grand Olympic Auditorium, would split from the NWA. Now they would rekindle the relationship in 1968, and they would be called the NWA Los Angeles. And although the title was defended in SoCal, it would never appear in Long Beach again because the Municipal Auditorium closed in 1975, and that was to make way for the Long Beach Convention Center. Now that's more history on the city of Long Beach than you probably care to know. But during that time, we still had Terry Funk, Harley Race, and Ric Flair bringing the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship to Southern California, just not Long Beach. Now, when we talk about championship wrestling from Hollywood, it's funny because, in 2006, they were running arena shows all across the country. 2006, 2007. The Hidalgo Arena in Hidalgo, Texas. In Kissimmee, Florida, I don't remember the venue's name. The Celebrity Theater in Phoenix, Arizona. Of course, the Orleans Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, multiple times. It was always Dave Marquez's goal at the time to run at that Long Beach Convention Center. Long Beach Convention Center is what replaced the Municipal Auditorium. So, the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship, again, hasn't been defended in Long Beach since 1952. Now, the NWA promotions have been involved with events in Long Beach, just never the 10 pounds of gold. The former NWA affiliate Mach 1 Wrestling, they were an affiliate of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. The late John Ian, who we talked about earlier this year, who passed away, would run events in concert with the Long Beach Comic Con. They called it the Wrath of Khan. They had 3 events there from 2009, 2010, and 2011, which would feature stars like Nick Madrid and, of course, Eli Drake. It was also, that would also be the home, the Long Beach Convention Center, would also be the home for Vendetta Pro Wrestling, who became an affiliate of the NWA in 2013. And they, too, would run in concert with the Comic-Con, but again, would never present an NWA World's Heavyweight Championship during those shows. In fact, the last NWA World's Heavyweight Champion to wrestle in the city of Long Beach, well, that would be Cody Rhodes. Now, he didn't defend the 10 pounds of gold in Long Beach. He was actually wrestling against Juice Robinson, and that was the event where he won the IWGP US Championship. So as you can see, there's been a long, historic relationship with the Long Beach and the NWA. The fact of the matter is, Miracle Mike Bennett has a lot up against him, because there's never been an NWA World Champion to lose in the city of Long Beach. The title's never changed hands. So history has no twin. maybe that means Miracle Mike Bennett has an opportunity to shock the world in 7 days. Or maybe it just means Nick Aldis will continue to roll on this wave of success and walk into Long Beach Thunder Studios as your world's heavyweight champion and walk out as your world's heavyweight champion.
I'm just waiting a little bit longer to see if anyone else is going to show up. But I mean, what a crazy week in the world of professional wrestling. I don't know about you guys, but I'm super excited and super happy with the way that this United Wrestling Network NWA relationship has been working out. I mean, despite the first week's episode with some technical snafus, we had a really good main event. We had a really good main event at Primetime Live, the first episode, and we had a very good second episode of Primetime Live that was headlined by Thunder Rosa taking on Priscilla Kelly, and that was such a unique show because when you're watching professional wrestling, there's always a winner, there's always a loser. That's how it goes. But on this particular night of wrestling, I felt even the guys and gals who lost their matches looked really, really good. Like, very incredibly good. Better than they should have looked, maybe. I mean, Priscilla Kelly looked like a star to me on Tuesday night. And I know who Priscilla Kelly is. I've seen her in the ring before. I was very much impressed with how good she was. I was very much impressed with guys like Slice Boogie. You know, he was the 2019 SoCal Uncensored Rookie of the Year out here in Southern California. I was very impressed with the way Watts looked. Of course, how could you not be? It's Watts. I was very impressed with Danny Limelight. Again, all of these matches took these interesting dichotomies, these opponents who very much were evenly matched, and you know, you could have had these guys wrestle 5 times in a row and had different results every single time. So I was really excited about that, and I thought they did a terrific job in trying to do the show. And I just see a bunch of other guys joining here. My phone was being a little delayed there. Hello, Kerouac and Championship Wrestling from Hollywood News. We got the McCoy brothers. One of the wrestlers he knows from the NWA is Mike and Maria from WWE and Impact Wrestling. Yeah, Mike Bennett and Marie. I'm being told that I'm muted here. I don't know what's going on. Let me see. Being muted. Oh yeah, I am muted. How about now? We'll have to fix that in post. Yeah, Mike and Maria definitely looked really good in their United Wrestling Network debut. Primetime Live. I think Mike Bennett really impressed a lot of people. And I know this is kind of old news, but again, I think the great thing about this show thus far, the great thing that they're doing is they found this way to bring in talent who we may not have heard from, we may not have known, or people we don't specifically think of when it comes to the National Wrestling Alliance or the United Wrestling Network. And we get just these incredible matches. So, one of the matches that I'm very much looking forward to, like I'm very excited, and I've been excited since day one when they first announced the Primetime Live, is that I saw that our friend, the former, well, I guess he is the current NWA National Third Degree Mongrovian National Champion, was on the poster. He was on the flyer from the very get-go. And so that led me to believe that we were eventually going to see that title being defended in Long Beach in the Thunder Studios. And guys, I've been there personally. That studios is magnificent. It's one of the best places I've ever seen professional wrestling take place. And that goes in line with the old Glendale Studios where the original Championship Wrestling from Hollywood found its footing many, many years ago. It's better than the Galaxy Theater in Santa Ana. It's better than the Hollywood Regent Showcase Theater in Hollywood, California. It's better than the Ocean View Pavilion. It was better than the Wenzhou Entertainment Expo, where we saw the match take place in China. It was a really good venue. And that national championship, I would really, really like to see that happen. And we are going to get to see that next week. Todd Kenley says, everything clicked this time from the Saturday night's main event style promos, kicking things off and beyond. Todd, you're 100% right. I mean, episode 1, I felt like maybe there might have been some pacing issues. I know they had to kind of rush to get to that main event. And a lot of things felt rushed on night 1, but night 2, that was smooth like butter. I think everything went well. Every match told a story. Every promo helped deliver that match. And, of course, you and you guys on commentary did a very good job as well. I think everything played up right. David Marquez in the back doing the pre-show interviews. Chris Dickinson calling out the tag team match. Carl Fredericks looking like a rock star. Thunder Rosa proving why she's the hottest commodity in professional wrestling today. It all blended very, very well. It all made for a great night of wrestling. And again, now you got your measuring stick for from United Wrestling Network's Primetime Live. This is the show that we're going to measure all the others up against. Production was good. Look and feel was good. Sounded good. The wrestling was good. The promos were good. Everything was great. And Dave Scooby comments on their Instagram live feed that, yes, all the wrestlers, whether they won or not, looked great. They all put on a great show. Win or lose, they all did their job correctly. They all looked good. But the match that I'm very excited about, the match that I can't wait to see, is that National Heavyweight Championship. Aaron Stevens, Trevor Murdoch. Now, this match, this feud was building on NWA Power. In fact, this is the first time that a feud from NWA Power is being transmitted to Thunder Studios. The feud started in Atlanta, Georgia, and now is coming to Long Beach, California, in what should be a very compelling storyline. I mean, when you talk about Trevor Murdoch and Dave Marquez have a long-standing history, a lot of tradition. Now, you have to remember Trevor Murdoch was trained by the late Harley Race, who, of course, was a confidant of Dave Marquez. Dave Marquez went into business with Harley Race and Gordon Solie to start World Legion Wrestling many, many moons ago. And one of the bright stars of that program was Trevor Murdoch. And for those of you guys who've been following Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or the David Marquez Productions for years will know that, Trevor Murdoch was here when they first started shooting Championship Wrestling from Hollywood at the Columbia Square Studios. He and Lance Cade were part of the tag teams that they brought in to kind of beef up the NWA Tag Team division. They had a feud with the Skull Crushers, who were then the NWA Tag Team Champions. And then, furthermore, when Dave Marquez started touring again after those shows took place, Dave Marquez started touring the country. We had shows in fact, all over North America, shows in Canada, shows West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, Southwest, and Trevor Murdoch was on a bunch of these shows. So they've always had this kind of bonded connected relationship. And I always kind of felt that we would see Trevor Murdoch on Primetime Live when it eventually was going to happen. And, of course, it's going to happen. It's only fitting that Murdoch would be here at Primetime because of, everything that I mentioned, plus the feud between him and Aaron Stevens was one of the hotter feuds that was brewing for NWA Power. I mean, this match was supposed to take place at the Crockett Cup in 2020 before the whole world got put on pause. The NWA had to cancel its Crockett Cup pay-per-view. They had to put a pause on that. And, of course, there's been a change in leadership and a change in direction with the NWA. And so a lot of their live events, all of their live events got canceled. And basically, the NWA has been on hiatus until Primetime Live. But during that time, I mean, we had Murdoch, he started off with these matches with a question mark. And they were trying to build up to getting into the TV title tournament. And Murdoch was then a part of that TV title tournament while Aaron Stevens was fishing his way through a feud with Ricky Starks and managed to get himself a three-way match at Hard Times where he took on Colt Boom Boom Cabana and Ricky Starks for that national championship and wound up stealing the title. He ended up getting the belt. And it was shocked a lot of people because up until that point, it wasn't like Aaron Stevens had a huge win-loss record. He was doing the best he could. He was doing the best he could to get by. His feud with Ricky Starks, it started off as him just basically Starks owning him in that feud. Aaron Stevens did his best to kind of cultivate any kind of steam, but really didn't get any momentum going until he forged that relationship with the master of karate, the question mark. And through that relationship, Aaron Stevens forged a new style of wrestling, and we started seeing more and more out of Aaron Stevens and more wins on that win-loss column. So that the Mongrovian contingent of the question mark and Aaron Stevens began to kind of target Trevor Murdoch. And it was at a point where Aaron Stevens, who was the national champion, had a match with Sal Rinauro and kind of took liberties with Rinauro, who is a much smaller guy. That's right. Todd Kelly wants to point out there is no Christmas tree at the Thunder Studios. I mean, he might head off to the esports arena. I mean, he might go head out to the catering, but there is no Christmas tree that he can hide behind. That's for sure. And so when Aaron Stevens started targeting Sal Rinauro, and he was looking to kind of maybe injure Sal Rinauro, that's when Trevor Murdoch took exception, and he stood up for Rinauro and said, you can't do that to somebody like me. And that's where the War of Words began. They had a matchup, ended in a 60-minute time limit draw. Aaron Stevens would go on to wrestle Scott Steiner at a pay-per-view, and although he was unsuccessful in winning the match, he did retain his title because it was a disqualification. But later, that's when things started to get really hot between between Aaron Stevens and Trevor Murdoch. They had that matchup with a question mark, and Trevor Murdoch faced off one-on-one and ended in less than a minute. And immediately after that match, Aaron Stevens blindsided Trevor Murdoch and really took a beating to a whole new level, like really put the boots to Trevor Murdoch. And it was surprising to me. It was surprising to see Trevor Murdoch put in that position. It was surprising to me to see, Aaron Stevens being so aggressive. It's something we hadn't seen from him yet in NWA Power. So I was pleasantly surprised, shockingly surprised, that these two just went to war with this whole angle was really coming to a culmination that was supposed to take place at the Crockett Cup. In fact, on Superpower and the matches leading up to Superpower, there were some segments that were cut back due to timing, due to time restraints, due to the fact that they weren't going to put on the Crockett Cup, that actually had a sit-down interview between Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens. And Trevor Murdoch was quick to point out, time in, time out, Aaron Stevens, you don't deserve this title. You're unwilling to defend this title. You're unwilling to be a fighting champion. That's what this crowd wants. This is what the NWA wants, is a fighting champion. And Aaron Stevens, and I'm paraphrasing this because I wasn't there live. This is what I heard. Aaron Stevens simply kind of replied with, I am doing this because that's how I'm going to stay champion. That's how I'm going to hold on to this belt. That accumulation, that feud that was so exciting that everyone was getting ready to see. I mean, again, goddamn the COVID-19 that put everything on pause because there's so much positivity going forward with NWA Power. But thank God that we are going to have this match take place Tuesday at the Thunder Studios. You guys can order the show on Fight TV. It's $7.99 for the first episode, for episode 3. If you want to go back and just do yourself a favor, go ahead and pay for the $23.99 4-pack bundle because you'll get the re-upped episode 1, which had most of the technical glitches taken care of. You'll get episode 2, which was probably the standard bearer for what the United Wrestling Network should be going forward. And of course, lastly, you'll get this episode this week, and of course episode 4 the following week, but you'll get this episode this week, which is not only going to feature the matchup between Trevor Murdoch and Aaron Stevens for that NWA, I almost said Heritage, National Championship. You're also going to get Remy Marcel making his debut for Primetime Live, taking on the very, very good very, very good Greek god Papadon. And Papadon has made an appearance here or there for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood in the past. He's based on the East Coast. This is a guy who can really go in the ring. This will be a great match. We also have Rey Rosas defending, well, I don't know if it's actually a championship match, but he'll be in Long Beach. He is the Hollywood Heritage Champion. He is the Arizona State Champion. And he'll be facing Pablo Esco, who's recently made his debut at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Also on the card, we're going to have a United Wrestling Network tag team title match. They used to be called Static. Now they're being called Socially Distanced. We'll be taking on the Real Money Brothers, who we just saw last week. That match is going to be a little bit more intense than the match we saw on Tuesday. We're also going to have Nicole Savoy take on Allison Kay. Now, we thought this week's women's match was hard-hitting, and it was. Let me rephrase that. We definitely saw a hard-hitting women's match this week. Allison Kay, Nicole Savoy are definitely going to bring another hard-hitting women's match. Then we have the debut of one of my favorites, Ruby Reyes. She'll make her debut on Primetime Live, and we're going to see her take on somebody new. I believe her name is Cece. I'm not super familiar with her. I think she recently made her debut in Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Again, this is another match that you guys are going to definitely want to check out. And it seems like, again, this show is going to be stacked. There's about 7 matches altogether on this show. And forgive me if I'm leaving somebody out. I don't have my cue cards here in front of me. But I think it's really going to be an exciting night of wrestling. And I think if you guys aren't on board yet, you should try it. If you don't like it, try the first episode, $7.99. See how you feel. See how you like a night of wrestling, where they pull back the dramatics, they pull back some of the soap opera stuff of professional wrestling, the things that you see on Monday nights or the things you see on Wednesday nights, and see more of just that professional wrestling. Match promo, match promo, match promo. Not a whole lot of shenanigans in between. And if you don't like it, you don't have to order it again. But I'm telling you, if you want to represent the NWA, oh yeah, Todd Kenley pointed out Chris Dickinson will be in action. The Dirty Daddy. That's just weird to say, the Dirty Daddy. Hey, his debut was so intense, and the beating he gave to Jordan Cruz. I mean, Jordan Cruz is still walking, he's still breathing, he's still alive. But good Lord. And what's next for Dickinson? What happens when Dickinson runs into somebody on a more even keel? What happens when Chris Dickinson runs into Carl Fredericks? What happens when Chris Dickinson runs into Watts? I am very much looking forward to seeing the maturation of Chris Dickinson in Primetime Live. Of course, like I mentioned, Carl Fredericks, Watts, a lot of these guys, if you don't know, you need to check these shows out because their talent is immense. The popularity is increasing. Future Stars of Wrestling out of Las Vegas has recently come to terms with the United Wrestling Network to help bring in some more talent to an already stacked show. I mean, we've got stars representing the National Wrestling Alliance first and foremost. And we've had about 2 NWA matches per card. That streak will continue this week. And then we have stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the LA Dojo. With Danny Limelight and Carl Fredericks. We have stars from the East Coast, like Priscilla Kelly, like Chris Dickinson. We see talent from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Championship Wrestling from Arizona, and you're going to see more of that. You're going to see more talent come to this United Wrestling Network. You'll see more free agents like Mike Bennett show up, because this is where professional wrestling is really being introduced in a different style that we're not accustomed to. We're not seeing this on Monday nights. We're not seeing this on Wednesday nights. This is a little bit different. And for one, I'm excited.